Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I've got new glasses. It's kind of like a filter of the world into me. And I also have a new EQ pedal, which is like a filter for, well, the way I'm going to use it would be my preamp to my speakers. And I'll explain how I'm using that, or maybe my preamp to my power amp to my speakers. Am I the speaker or is the world the speaker? And man. Either way, I have an orange Rocker 32 that I really dig, but I haven't loved it yet. I like a lot of things about it as far as tone goes, and I love the options for it. And I'm trying to take it to that next step. And I'm hoping that this EQ7, it's T-Cube series from Eno Music. It's like 30 bucks or something like that off of Amazon. Their website is www.ex-amp.com. They have a bunch of little mini pedals. And my EQ, my Boss EQ, I've had it for years and I dig it. I like the frequencies that it offers here. And I know that with my Orange Rocker 32, after messing around with this in the right spot, I could kind of get what I wanted. But it's too big to fit right in that spot on my board right now. That little itty bitty spot right there with the cables, I mean, I just can't quite get it in there. You know, it'll sit, but then I can't plug it in. So what I'm going to do is put this little guy on it, the EQ7, and I'll talk about a couple of the things about it, but that'll fit right in there, and I have a couple cables ready for it, and it'll pop right where I need it to go. Oh, hello. So yeah, this little guy, you know, it's a reasonable package. They give you a bag as if this is going to be the only thing you're going to take. But, you know, I'll use it for something. You can put your picks in there. A toilet paper manual, decent, attractive box. On-off engage switch. I believe it's true bypass. I can't imagine it not being these days. Nice little LED indicator. Now, I was hoping to run it like this, in this manner. I had a little spot on the board where it would have sat perfectly, but I've since moved my space rip over to that position because if I were to set it like this, the low end is then over to my right, and for me, I need my low end. I need to think of it being this way. I think low end to high end, and so you can't really set it this way. You have to set it this way. If I turn it that way, then everything gets quieter as I go up. So it would be counterintuitive to set it either way other than this, according to this layout. And the frequency range is close. So on the Boss GE7, you get from low to high 100, 200, 400, 800, 1.6K, 3.2K, 6.4K. All real usable, tweakable spots. So 7 bands and a level. So you can then compensate. I like to use an EQ like this. I start off with it by reducing EQ, not by boosting EQ. So then I need to generally add a little bit of output at that point, especially what I'm going to end up doing is taking a little bit of this kind of muddy, lower mid-range frequency that starts to occur in my Rocker 32 when I turn it up. On both channels, the natural and the dirty. And I kind of like the fact that I can run the dirty really pretty clean and then have just as a volume differentiation between the two. So one could actually be a little louder for leads, and then one could be really a little quieter. And you can set them really similarly. Or you can set it clean and dirty and just channel switch. I use gain pedals and stuff like that with this board. And this is my stereo board. The other thing I love about the Rocker 32 is that it's got stereo returns, so you have stereo options, and if you run something into just the right, you can do into the right return, you get a wet dry option off the 2 speakers. It's a really intuitive, brilliant amp, and I want to love it. I don't want to spend a bunch of money changing out the speakers in order to filter the world around it. So on this EQ, we have a similar range, but we go a little bit lower. and not quite as high. We've got 63 for the low end, which would be good for a bass, and adding some really subby kind of stuff. I can barely notice it, but it's subtle when I add it to my 10s, which is the main problem for me with the Rocker 32. I'm so used to using powered amplifiers into 212s or 412s or even single 12s and getting just a little more out of it than I can get with the 10s. So I want to kind of get this little scoopy low mid thing going on. So there's a 63, which is a low boost or cut, 125, 250, 500. So in that range of the 400 and 500 that I generally start to cut in order to clear that amp up a little bit, I think I can work with that. And then there's a 1K, 2.2K, and a 5K. And I believe the Q on these is a little bit wider than the Q on these. So this has a relatively narrow Q or scope of equalization for that frequency center point. So, all right, I'm going to pop this on the board in that little space right there. Actually, I got to get some Velcro on it. On the bottom here, there's a piece of rubber. Gentle reminder, removal of screws or this label will void warranty. Well, if I leave the label attached to the rubber, I shouldn't void any sort of warranty, because you really can't stick Velcro to this rubber stuff very well. Hey, look at that. Sticker's still on it. My warranty is good. I haven't taken those screws out. Velcro time. It's the EQ7 by EX Amps. Got it on Amazon, reasonable price, less than 30 bucks, and nice small footprint. All right, I'm going to set it up real quick up on that bad boy right there, right there. Okay, there's the EQ in place. I'm very happy with where it fits. That's a nice little thing. That's the amp. I have it pretty quiet so that I can talk for a second. So there's bridge. That's the amp with the EQ. And you hear just kind of, even at this volume, there's a certain rasp that starts to come in the mid-range for me. And that EQ just that dipping that 500 just a few dB, and then that 250, and then giving a real gentle bump to the bottom end there. Just a little bit of a smiley going on, and then just maybe a touch of presence, and then I've had to add. See, if I kept that volume the same, the output, if I kept that output the same, it gets a lot quieter, and I don't really want that, because then I'm losing a lot of focus. So I want to bring it back up to where the levels are even. As I hit the A button, it turns my Friedman BE off and kicks me over to just the angry driver, and it'll be the blues driver side of that. And then I can hit the B button here, and you see that red light lights up, and that's the angry Charlie side of the angry driver, blues driver side, and then BEOD. So those are my three main gain stages, and there's a little bit of reverb and a little bit of delay. PRS into my orange Rocker 32 stereo. Microphone down, gonna mess around. I think I'm pretty happy with that setting. I'll kind of go through how I found that. What I like to do, like I had mentioned, oh, my amp's going to be loud. Hold on. Okay, the amp's a little quieter, so there'll be a little less impact all around, but you'll hear it because I'm going to overemphasize a frequency in order to highlight the things that to me kind of sound a little gross. I brought up that 500. It got real wonky, and that was about the range where I knew the same thing happened around 400 with this pedal. So it feels to me like that Q, that 500 Q might be, a little off center or a good bit wider than what you're going to hear out of here, but it was doing close to what I'm getting out of this. That's kind of put me in the ballpark of now when I play some lead stuff, the amp's not taken off in a certain range, and it helps the amp kind of feed back in a focused manner. And it all around should be giving me, as I turn it up, a little bit more bottom out of it, which I've been lacking because now I've added a little bit of that subby low stuff to it. And it's going to kind of help clear up some of that mud. So that's a good thing. I'm enjoying this so far in the way that this amp has sounded with it. And then if I run it into my stereo lanies, I probably would just turn that EQ off. It's right there, and I just wouldn't really need it because I like the way that the 12s sound. So this is really designed for me, not at the beginning of my signal chain to change the sound of my guitars. I want them to kind of sound the same. This is really, it's after my gains, and it's after my preamp. So it's come out of the send of my amplifier and is coming back into my board here, and it's just intercepted along with where it would hit the my noise gate and then the return back into the S8, and then all of my post effect switchers go in there. So it helps to really define the entire preamp focus and then put that sound that I prefer into the speakers a little bit more clearly. Am I the speaker? And I'm pretty happy with it. I don't mess with EQ pedals too much because they always end up taking up space that I would rather have something else there. And I try to use decent enough amps and stuff that I don't really need an EQ for the most part, especially if I have house sound guys. But I'm doing a lot of gigs starting in August that are going to be just me popping an amp down and just going and not really wanting to rely on too much of whoever the sound guy is for the night to give me certain sounds. So this EQ pedal in conjunction with the boosts and the different distortion sounds should help me focus all of that and give me a little bit of a better playing experience. Hopefully you guys have been able to hear what I'm talking about in these demos. Probably going to sound a little bit better, not on a phone, but maybe it will. So right now I'm going to turn the mic back down and I'm just going to play a little bit more, and you can hear how I'm going to use this EQ pedal in the lead context to kind of help get some sustain and gain going in a different kind of a way than it was feeding back without this EQ pedal. So anyway, I'll play us out, and thanks for being here at Double D Guitar. If you like this kind of stuff and this kind of content and messing around with pedals and guitars and the techery, especially the inexpensive techery, please give me a thumbs up so that I know that this is what I should focus on. All right, thanks for being here at Double D Guitar. I'm going to play out a little bit more. Do you hear that sustain? Do you hear that sustain? You gotta have a bite.